All right, we are live. Or should I say live, like Christy does?
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Hello, my ninjas. How are y'all?
Yeah, how you
Glad
guys
y'all,
doing?
glad y'all can
Well,
make it.
yep. If you guys
Yeah.
haven't noticed, we got Ron Morehead,
The one,
unbelievably.
the only,
Yeah.
the infamous Ron Morehead.
I think there's another Ron Morehead back east somewhere, but I don't know. It might be a relative.
But you are the one, and you
The
are
only.
well,
I'm
you're
the
not
only
the
Bigfoot
only,
one,
but
yeah.
you are the infamous. Yeah, absolutely. It, I mean, I'm in utter shock right now, sitting here talking to you. I don't know what to say. I actually wrote notes, and I don't know where to start. I don't know where to start. So I guess we'll start with. I know all of this information, but for those of us, everybody watching who doesn't know, what got you into this topic?
Bigfoot.
Literally.
Really, I was involved with a group of hunters. I became involved with them. I wasn't a hunter at the time, but they came back with this story about these big things coming around the camp, and they're avid hunters. They've been visiting this camp since '58, and it's really a remote area, 8 miles in the wilderness, at 8,400 feet elevation. It's really an imposing area to get to, but they hunt there because it's such a pristine hunting area. But one night, these things, they were up there checking summertime, just seeing what damage the bears might have done through the winter or whatever. And these things came in that night. And at first they thought it was a bear, but they realized the sounds didn't represent a bear at all. And when it stopped, they went out. It's dark. They went outside and looked, and there was a big 5-toed print in the mud. So that kind of woke them up a little bit. They weren't looking for Bigfoot. Nobody's up there was looking for Bigfoot. And these things just started coming around the camp. They came out with the story. The other hunters, which again, I wasn't part of it right then, the other hunters didn't know what to think of it either, because Bigfoot's a myth, right? It's not supposed to exist. And especially these guys, there are a lot of religious people, and giants aren't supposed to be around nowadays. The flood wiped them all out, right? That's what they say. Anyway, not true. Well, the guys went back up there, the other guys did, and they all encountered these things again. They came into camp and just frightened the heck out of them. One of the guys, he was just shaking. He couldn't. As soon as daybreak came, he shot out of there, left a note saying, I'm out of here. And he got out and went back, told the women, what the Johnsons said was true. There's some kind of monster up there. And anyway, the guys didn't get back out when they were supposed to. And the women wanted him to go back and check them, see if they got eaten or what was going on with these monsters. And he wouldn't go back by himself. And I was a friend of the families, all of them. And so he invited me to go with him, asked me if I would go with him. So he wasn't going to go back by himself. So anyway, I got up there, and the guys were okay. And they were just late coming out because of all this stuff going on. They wanted to stay another day. And I seen the first big print then, and it was quite impressive. And I thought, man, I want to be part of this. So I became part of it at that time, and started going back as often as we could. And anytime I could find someone to go with me. And that's how I got started. They're big feet. They got a big voice. And we started taking recorders back up there with us because they came back, and they started coming back. And we didn't shoot at them. We had high-powered guns. We sure did. I had 44 Magnum. And so it was all ready to shoot our way out if we had to, but they wasn't crashing through the shelter at us. And it all happened while we was inside the shelter. So trying to get a glimpse of these things is something else. I mean, these things are so fast and so elusive, and usually come around at nighttime. I think that's how they conceal themselves better. And so anyway, that's how I got involved. And we started recording them. In 1972, we took a reporter who came down to investigate it, because Warren Johnson, the leader of the group, he wrote a letter to Ivan Sanderson, who was a cryptozoologist back east. And Ivan Sanderson thought it was probably just a hoax. Somebody's pulling his leg, because nobody has encounters like this repeatedly. So he sent it to a man named Peter Byrne in Dallas, Oregon. Peter thought the same thing. Somebody's pulling somebody's leg here. So Peter got a hold of Alan Berry, who was in California, Northern California, working for a newspaper at the time. And he came down to interview us and got caught up because we let him listen to some of the sounds that we've been recording. And he thought, we didn't notice the time, but he thought this is a hoax, but I got to check it out. So we invited him in, and we took him in 1972. That was winter of 71 when he came down. So he ended up recording these things, still looking for the hoax, going through our sacks, which we didn't know, our backpacks and different things, trying to find out who could be pulling this off way up there in the middle of nowhere, not leaving any signs other than their big voices and big prints in the ground. And he ended up having those sounds studied at the University of Wyoming. He found a professor there that would take along with an unbiased attitude, which he had a real problem trying to find that to start with, because he first went to the guys that studied the Nixon tapes. Anybody remembers who President Nixon was? That was I.E. Tybalt in New York City, and they said you need to find some university engineer somewhere to establish everything. What we're hearing here is very unique, and they didn't discard it at all, but they don't do this stuff for free either. So he got a hold of a Professor Curlin at the University of Wyoming, and Professor Curlin took him and he studied him for a year, wrote a paper on him, and introduced his study at the Anthropology of the Unknown in British Columbia in 1978. And anyway, that's how it kind of progressed. That was a big, because he showed where it was inside and outside the human range, average human range. And that was quite a big deal, but it wasn't enough to convince science, even though he's a scientist. Because nobody can mimic these sounds. No human can do this. I've been studying this now for quite a while, 50 years, and I found that Dr. Lieberman at Brown University said that only humans have the vocal mechanism for speech, like we're doing right now. That's the hyoid bone here connected to the nerve system, the tongue through the brain, so we can talk what we're thinking. Well, no other animal on the face of this planet is supposed to have that. But when a cryptolinguist got a hold of this in 2008, he heard it by accident, and he came out and interviewed us and went back and started studying himself, and he actually transcribed a language. He said, this is language by the human definition of language, which means a morphine stream of words. And it just kind of goes from there. Humans can't do it. We've had professional sound people listen to it, and I was kind of disappointed. I got several people chiming in. This Joe Rogan guy who supposedly says he can make those sounds. Well, no, he can't. No human can do that. And I feel badly for him because he's kind of an intelligent guy, I think, but he's not doing his homework, and he's just not given professional papers that have been written on this thing any credit at all. That makes him look bad, I think, to the people that know, who've done the homework on this, who knows the science we've had behind it and what we've done to get these sounds established. We knew they were something different. We didn't know what they were, but there's something different. They got a Bigfoot, so we call them Bigfoot. But and I don't know that all of them can talk. I've come to not a conclusion. Nobody has a conclusion on this, but I come to the opinion that there's more than one type of these things. And some of them are able to speak, some have different attributes than other ones do. And I base that on the fact now that we all know there's UFOs and aliens, right? So I got into that, and I found out, and I do believe that they've manipulated the DNA of different species on this planet. And that's where, I don't know what these things are, but they have language by the human definition of language, which makes them unique. Now, I've had a lot of people chime in over the years saying, hey, I've heard just those samurai cries. I've heard those sounds, those chatters. But it was first recorded really by Albert Ostman in 1924. John Green wrote a report on that, interviewed him in 1957, I think it was. And he said, Albert Ostman said they were chattering amongst themselves, because he was supposedly kidnapped up in British Columbia, at the Toby Inlet, held for 6 days, captive by a family of Bigfoot, 2 adolescents, male and female, and a woman and a man. The big male carried him off in a sleeping bag, and they held him. And he didn't know what he was there for, but he ended up escaping. There's a whole story about that in my last book. Because I went up there and investigated. I'm a pilot. I had a plane, so I flew up there with Peter Byrne and a couple other investigators to examine that story, trying to find the bowl that he said he was held captive in. And we never could find it. And I flew all day long, real slow, looking for the bowl, found Toby Inlet, and dropped down into Toby Inlet with my plane. And from what we could tell and how I think because John Green interviewed him so many years later, I think he just looked at a map and thought he was at Toba Inlet, but we don't think he was in Toba Inlet. And I talked to John Green about this, and no, he was there. He said, I don't think he's lying. I don't think he's lying either. He just might have been mistaken because it didn't make sense. His story didn't make sense if it was Toba Inlet. And I got a map of it all. We really researched that pretty thoroughly. I don't think anybody's done more than what we did, trying to assess if that's where he was and if that's what really happened. I don't disbelieve his story, but I just don't think he was in Toba Inlet. Yeah. So there's that little part of my history. I go on chatter and chatter. If you got some questions, just jump in and ask them. But it's just been carrying on. I've kind of been speaking about this now at conferences. Years ago, Al Berry, the investigative reporter we took in, he had a master's degree in science. And he says, don't talk about the strange stuff that goes on up here or that went on, because no one's going to believe anything you say if you tell them that stuff. And so he said, you got to stay with science. Well, science don't answer that. It just doesn't answer what was going on. At least classical science don't. Until you get into quantum physics, you don't know how everything really works throughout the universe. Inside us at the most minute level, and all the way through the universe. Quantum physics is the law that answers everything. And there is an answer to everything. And so I got into quantum physics. That's when I wrote my second book, The Quantum Bigfoot, because I think that's how they do what they do. They have attributes that we don't understand. I'm not sure we don't have them too, but we haven't evolved into them. And that's kind of where I go with my thoughts now. And when I talk to people, I do believe they have a human component to them. They're not human like we are, but there's a component there that gave them language. So that's very important. I think the importance of language, like we're doing now, is very important. They talk very rapidly, very fast chatter. So it takes some kind of a bigger brain to take that all in. It's just really fast. And it was in 1974, after we've been dealing with it for 3 years. And when my friend and I, we'd taken supplies into Capital Horses and Mules, and we was there early from hunting season, just taking supplies in. And these things actually came around us while we're outside the shelter. That's the night I got to see glimpses of them. Well, some of my buddies seen one too. And that's where the samurai cry comes from. People talk about the samurai chatter. That's when I was yelling back at them because we're getting kind of comfortable. That's something Joe Rogan said too. Oh, they wouldn't have just been sitting there. They were scared out of their shit or whatever it was. They'd been all over. Well, no, by then we were all settled in thinking they weren't going to eat us and we're okay. And we was really trying to communicate with them and try to have something so we could understand more about them, because they're still, in a lot of parts of the country, they're still the butt of jokes. If you believe in Bigfoot, why haven't we found a body? Quantum physics will answer that. It's all about vibration, frequency, and energy, according to Tesla. If you get into vibrations, we're all at a most minute level, energy, vibrating at a frequency. You find the frequency of anything, you can change the matter. And if you really look into that a little bit, and I just encourage people to do their own homework and look into what can really happen. Because I've started interviewing people, and they started saying, well, these things disappeared right from my eyes. And, you kind of draw a line there for a while. You say, okay, that guy's cuckoo. No one can just disappear. Well, that's not true. Things can disappear if they go out of your vibrational frequency. We can only see within light's vibrational frequency. We're very limited with what we can see. Animals can see more than we can. A lot of them can. They can see outside. A camera's eye can see better than our eye. We only see within a certain area. And if these things somehow can change their vibrational frequency of their body, which I think they can go out of our perception. So I'll just keep on chattering until somebody interrupts me here.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Well, I get a little fast too sometimes. So
that's right. We ain't gonna stop a good thing.
I need to slow down.
Talking about the vibrations and frequency, I think I had a little bit. I think it was last week or someone in the chat said, how does everything vibrate and stuff like that, and everything have a frequency, and it's like, it's physics, you know what I mean? You got to do your own research and stuff like that. You got to learn how to do this and stuff, and I think a lot of it I agree with you 100% of what you said, just from my own personal experiences. And everyone, a lot of people out there discredit. Well, it's a blurry photo. It's a blurry photo. You're right,
Your
because they're
podcast. I'm
vibrating
Dr.
so
Andrea Russo,
fast.
a cardiologist.
They're vibrating so fast, that is just what the camera's able to pick up. You know what I mean? Therefore, that's why you get the blurry photos.
They're very fast moving too. They do move fast. So
yes,
that right there, my goodness,
I've seen them. It's just a standing still. It's a streak.
Yeah,
and then
that's what I saw the night I saw one. We heard the samurai cry, and he shot that through the trees. Smooth too, just really smooth. I mean, it's not like they're jumping around, jumping up and down. They're huge, and they're very agile for their size.
Yeah, and I think along with the whole vibrational thing and the whole frequency thing is how they're able to get through some of the thickest brush without making a freaking sound. You know what I mean? Again, like you said, quantum physics.
I don't write anybody off when they come up with a strange story anymore, because unless they got 20,000 candles around them or something like that, and dressed in black. Looking for the wolf or whatever. But I know you get into Skinwalker Ranch, the things that's gone on there, and the studies that's been done there, and the shape shifting. Can they do that? Well, if energy can change form, and by the way, Stephen Hawkins, he says energy cannot die. Einstein said energy cannot die. It can only change forms. We are energy. So we only change forms when we leave this body. Well, that's pretty neat if you think about it, because religions will say, let's go to heaven when you die. Well, physics says you change into another dimension. You just change forms. So there's a parallel there. That's why the subtitle of my Quantum Bigfoot is bringing science and spirituality together, because I think they can be synonymous if you look at it in those terms.
Absolutely. So let's get in, if you don't mind, we get into the famous. I mean, you have amazing vocals. I think your vocal library is definitely the go-to if you want to hear what they sound like. But the Sierra sounds, the chatter. Now, I heard a story of how you acquired those sounds. That you were out there camping with a buddy. There was a rock outcropping off in the distance, and you could hear what sounded like talking. And you guys snuck around and stuck a tape recorder around the corner, and that's how you acquired the Sierra sounds. And I've heard almost the entire recording, and it sounds like it's a male and a female bickering back and forth.
Well, can I chime in and tell you just how it happened?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, exactly.
Well, we knew this thing was going on, so we'd set the mics up sometimes in the shelter wall. Al Berry set his mic up. He remoted it back, wired back about 40 feet from the shelter on a little sibling pine tree. Went into the shelter. That's where when that thing started bouncing off. So a lot of the clear sounds that you hear were Al Berry's, and they're the ones that the University of Wyoming studied. And that's how it was going on. We weren't backing our truck up and opening a six-pack. That's what a lot of people think happened. And to get in there is really challenging. And David Paulides, Missing 411, The Hunted, he did about a 15-minute section on me in the Sierra camp. I'd let him go in there and film it, which I'm glad I did. It's the first time I ever taken a filmer in there, even though I've been asked many times. And he did a really good job on it. But he shows a little bit about the enigmas, too, that we were experiencing up there. And the last one was in 2016, actually. That's how recent it was. He was up there in 2018 doing the filming. So it shows what it takes to get into the camp. He interviews me and talks to me around the campfire there at the shelter, at the camp. The shelter actually is not there anymore. We had to take it down in 2015 because of it's a long story, but anyway, it's not there, but the camp is still there, and you can still go there, which we do. So a lot of fires were going on in California. We were real smoky up there when we were up there, and wasn't any animal sign at all. I think we also left, and we was wondering what was going to happen if we didn't get out, if the fire was to get on us before we got out. But we did get out, obviously, and unbarbecued. So anyway, that's how we were. It wasn't just one time. We were capturing these things, sounds, a lot of times. We got hours of this stuff, in my archive here. I lost a lot of my original ones, which were excellent sound recordings in a house fire that I had in California in the 70s. And that's a shame because they were great quality. I had the best stereo cassette, it was all cassette recorders back then, that you could get, and packed in on a mule, protected, stereo mics out each side of the shelter. And they could hear these things walking around out there with the headset on, And, I mean, there's some pristine sounds, but they burned up my house fire. Thankfully, I sent one of them off to Al Berry just so he could hear what happened to me in 1974 when I encountered these things came around the camp, and I was interacting with them. And that's where I was screaming, trying to mimic them, and that's how I did the second CD with that narrative, because it just, otherwise I wouldn't have had anything. Bill McDowell was with me and he recorded too, but problem is, well, what we were doing back in those days, we didn't have a lot of sense. We just up there doing this stuff. But we were taking our cassettes and running them off on a reel-to-reel at home and then using the cassette again. You don't do that if you're trying to get these things studied. Al Berry knew that, so he didn't use anything but brand new cassettes. He was starting up before anything ever started. So if that way something happened, you'd miss the beginning of it. And we would wait till it started, and then we'd try to get something going, This night in 1974, when I was interacting with them outside the shelter, I had to go over and get my little tape recorder. I just had a little portable one then. I didn't have the big one. And got it out of my saddlebag and set it up, and Bill did the same thing. But he went home and transferred it off on a reel-to-reel and somehow has lost it. At least it's somewhere. He don't know where it is because his wife, who put that stuff away, she passed away a few years ago. So, but mine I had because I'd sent it off to Al Berry, and so I got it back and was able to produce my second CD with the interaction, the wood knocks and the yelling, the chattering, and my yelling back at them. It's an exciting night.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
Well, thank goodness he sent it off.
Yeah, really.
That would have all been gone.
But most people, researchers especially, out there thinking they're looking for just some kind of a ape in the woods. They're a lot more than that. These things are intelligent. They're like a people. I've said that for years. If you just treat them like a Native American out in the woods that don't want to be found, you'll have better luck, and have a right attitude when you go into the woods. It's just very important. Because if you go in there with a gun trying to shoot them or something like that, and we went in with guns, but we weren't trying to shoot them. We were there for other things. A lot of things can bother you in the woods besides these things. Yeah. And I got a hat band, a 52-inch rattlesnake we shot on the trail all the time up there. I usually carry a couple of birdshot snake loads, we call them, and my pistol, and you run across something like that, or a grouse or something you want for dinner, you can pop it and don't have to shoot a big bullet. So I always just have 5 rounds in my pistol, and the first one's empty because sometimes I've been known to, when you're wrangling a mule or something, you got the gun over here, it can cock your handle if you're not careful, shoot your leg off, so you got to be careful. Anyway, it's been quite an adventure, this whole Bigfoot thing. We call them Bigfoot. I'm not sure what we're dealing with up there. It might have been just total alien. I don't know, but a lot of UFO reports with these things, and the most recent one that I heard was just a few miles away from where our camp is, air miles, probably within 10 or 15 miles. And this guy was watching a UFO and a Bigfoot at the same time. He was very credible, sounding witness too. And that was 1888, I think, when the Humboldt Times in Eureka, I think it's Eureka or Arcata one, had a report of a small moon coming down and let 3 crazy bears out. And that was the first report of a UFO and a Bigfoot together. That was in the Huffington Post in 2012. Dug that out. But you've heard tales of this stuff for ages, It just native lore goes way back with these things. And that you get science that won't pay attention to that at all. And I do, because they got the stories. They say, well, they can disappear. They live in 2 worlds. What does that mean? Live in 2 worlds. How do they go out of this world into some other world? Well, it's an interdimensional thing that we're alluding to here, I think.
You know, I mean, like you said, you know, it goes back, the lore and the myth and stuff goes way back. I mean, it goes way back to the explorer Leif Erikson.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he I think that was one of the first written accounts of going into an area and meeting these giant people covered in hair.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it goes way back. So, you know, when you sit down and do the history, is when you really,
science,
yeah.
You know, Newtonian physics is what we all live by. It's our three-dimensional environment, and you know, if you can measure something, when an apple falls, you can tell just when it's going to hit the ground if you measure everything. Quantum physics isn't like that.
No.
Classical science is based on everything being material or physical, predictable and measurable. Well, quantum science is not that way. It's unpredictable, and you get into that. It's only a little over 100 years old, you know, quantum physics. Neil Bohr and Einstein and Tesla, and actually the father of quantum physics was a guy named Max Planck, and he got a Nobel Prize for quantum physics in 1918, just a little over 100 years ago. But he came up with it before that, and it puzzled a lot of the scientists at the time. I mean, Einstein couldn't get his head around it, and I don't think anybody could get their head around it. How do you explain to someone the end of the universe? That'll throw them. Well, how far? If everything's measurable, how far is it to the end of the universe? You do. There was a lady on the line here driving her car just a few minutes ago. I don't know.
Yeah, that was our other co-host. She's at work right now, so.
Oh, that's where she was going now.
Yeah, she was probably heading home.
Oh, okay.
She's in the chat right now. Hopefully not while she's driving, but we're not going to say anything.
So you guys started. You guys were in this camp up in the Sierras, very remote. Like you said, it was like 8 miles out, and you had to pack mules and horses and stuff just to get out there. And you start presenting all of these recordings and stuff like that. Somebody actually went out to the camp and investigated the camp, thinking you guys were hoaxing all this. Like he was digging trenches, looking for wires.
Oh,
and
yeah, that was
and,
Joe Hauser.
Yeah,
you know, we scientists suggested we have somebody do the Flora study up there and just check for speaker wires, anything at all that would leave a sign of a hoax.
Nail holes in trees.
Right. We spent 3 days up there. I took him up there. We spent 3 days, and he dug trenches. He was looking for anything that could, and he couldn't find anything. And he ended up buying the Montana Vortex later on because it's got some strengths. So him and I see eye to eye just what this thing's all about now. Because he's got some experiences up there.
I think we all see eye to eye here, and what
skepticism. If anybody's got some skeptic talk, I love questions that challenge this stuff because you know I need that. I love it. Yeah. So anybody out there that's listening to this that wants to challenge me on something or just ask a question I'd love it. You know?
Maybe that one. I don't know. Can you see that?
What was your favorite encounter? Oh, my favorite encounter. Oh, there's a question right away. Wayne, my favorite encounter was 1974 when I did the interaction with them. Because that's the night I got to see one. I mean, we've been looking. Now, were they cloaking? We didn't think about that then. Didn't even think about it. Were they? Because Al Berry, when he had his mic behind our shelter, he recorded those really clear sounds. We should have been able to see something. I didn't see anything, but you could hear him walking when I could. You know, the headset I had was just phenomenal. And but I don't know. I never thought about that and never even considered something like that in those days. You know, we were not into physics at all. I wasn't. And he was serious. He became a good friend of mine later on. We started going to different places together and talking about this to different groups. And he passed away in 2012. So terrible. He was a good man.
And I know you during your whole experience up at that campus, you tried to trick them.
Oh,
I would like to know some of the tricks you tried to trick them.
Well, the camera thing mainly, because that's what everybody asks. I'm just really happy you got a picture, you know. anybody going out there trying to get a picture knows better than that. You just don't get a picture of these things unless it's an accident like Gimlin and Patterson had. It just is that way. We set up black thread. I think we lost 3 cameras at different times up there trying to trick them. Or we set the food out here where they've been coming in and taking the food, and jabbering, and then come a different way to get the food. And just, you couldn't get out fast enough to see one, hardly ever, because you jump out of the shelter. We realized or thought, they're not going to eat us now. They're not carrying us away. And unless that chatter is trying to figure out where the salt and pepper is, you don't know what the really intention is.
Right.
But when we, one time, Warren and I, we were the 2 up there, we heard one chattering right outside the shelter, just probably 30, 40 feet away behind. We thought it was behind this huge tree that was there. We thought, if we target ourselves, we get up and jump out that doorway, which is just a log between 2 trees like this, and we'll go up there, we'll see it run away. That didn't work. We did just that, and nothing ran away. And we would have seen it because it was had been right there. So we started walking up towards this tree. Like, we're still going to see it run away. We really wanted to see one then. And nothing was running away. All of a sudden we got stopped. Just like I related to like a force field in Star Trek or something. He's got stopped. You don't see anything. You don't know anything. You don't suspect anything. It just stops you. I've had it happen to me another time up there too. But all of a sudden, Warren, we weren't talking to each other, and we weren't afraid at that time. We were thinking, these things are trying to be friendly with us. And he said, I don't know about you, but I can't go any further. And I said, I can't either. So we just had to back off and go back in. As soon as we got back inside the shelter, the thing started mouthing off again right there behind that tree. We think it's behind the tree.
Oh, that's crazy.
But yeah, that's just one of the little things we ran into. One time, I've told this story a lot too, that we thought the camp stove area where we packed food in, because we didn't take horses and mules every time. We'd take supplies in and put them in these barrels, which are cabled to a tree, and keep our supplies in there, make them bear proof, because the bears could make a mess up there. And we thought all this stuff was being torn up, thrown off, tossed all around. And we thought, well, what are they doing that for? We look out there and nothing's changed. Nothing has changed. Well,
that's crazy.
How do you explain something like that? Are they hypnotize us all to make us think we heard all that because we was all in the shelter, and or were they able to make those sounds with their vocal mechanism? And I kind of choose to go that way because they have such a unique vocal mechanism. They can speak above us. They can speak in infrasound, I think, ultrasound. I think we don't hear those frequencies. Like eyes, you don't see all frequencies. You don't hear all frequencies either. If they could make those sounds with their vocal mechanism, just to play with you.
I heard the some sounds.
They do play with you, by the way.
Also, I heard some sounds on my recorder that I never thought. I always thought it was just the dry grass making that little popping sounds, and it come to find out it wasn't that at all. All this time it was their mouth making this sound that sounded like the sound that when you put Pop Rocks in your mouth, and that crackling sounds, they make that sound on my voice recorder. And one time, the only reason why I know it's them, because right after that, they started making this other sound. It sounds like, after that. And then you can hear the crackling sounds again. And I always thought it was just them, ruffling up dry grass all the time.
We had something similar to that happening up there. I read about this in the book too. I read it as a castanet sound, clicking.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
And it was out by our stove, which we packed in and reassembled, by the way. That's how the stove gets in there. It just don't land there. And all of a sudden the clicking sound started getting closer to the shelter. We was 3 of us in there, Lewis, Bill, and myself. And we were laying there in our sleeping bags. And this clicking sound got up. It just kept getting closer to the shelter. All of a sudden, it was inside the shelter.
Oh my gosh!
And we turned the light on. Nothing's there. Turned the light off. Start up again. This went on, and that was strange. What was that all about? We don't know. But it happened again to me when I was down in my home in my ranch down in the San Joaquin Valley. I was out irrigating, and I hear the clicking sound going on, and I looking around. I go, what the world's? That's the same sounds I had that we had up there. Couldn't find the source of it at all. I asked Bill a few years later. I said, Bill, did you ever have anything happen to you at home? Because other things were happening to me at home too. Big knocks, big different things. And he said, well, you know that clicking sound we had? He said, I had that happen to me at the house out here. So
Yeah.
These things, if they are an entity and in a different dimension or a spiritual dimension, able to travel, time is irrelevant in the quantum physics. They could be wherever they need to be or where they want to be. I don't think they can all do the same stuff. I don't, because I believe different types of aliens have been here. I've been in Peru, Bolivia, Nepal, Russia, Siberia. I've been in those places looking for enigmas. And there's so many enigmas in South America, that were put together by something alien. I got to tell you, they're just not what we are. And how they did what they did is still a puzzle to this day. And you see that, you realize something that is not like we are has been here in eons past. And now, according to what I'm hearing, is they manipulate different genomes by the DNA and causing different species to be whatever they are playing with. And they do toy with us, I think. You wonder, why would anything want to do that? You think about this Earth. I really like this new thought I got going on here. Bear with me. But this Earth is the jewel of this solar system. It's got everything. It's got water, it's got plants, species, it's got everything that other planets in the solar system don't have. And why wouldn't they want to be here? However, if they're from another place in the cosmos and have traveled here through quantum travel, however that is, and got here, they probably are not acclimated to this environment. And that's another reason they would be manipulating the DNA of a different genome, making a different genome for species. And so you hear about the dog man, you hear about this thing, that person, that type of, all these Egyptian pictographs you see. Well, was there any core truth to any of that stuff? I think maybe there was, different things have been here. Excuse me, I gotta turn my phone off. Okay, sorry about that.
That's all right.
So that's the theory I got is they want to be here because they need to acclimate their species. So I think there's a hybridization program going on. A lot of people think that, though. I'm not alone in that. The MUFON group that I know about, they're really adamant about that. And from a lot of testimonial to a lot of people claim abductions by aliens. And I think there's probably a lot of human-looking people running around that are actually hybrids.
Yeah.
Could be. This is all speculation, though. I don't know anything. Just speculation.
I'm 100% right there with you on everything you just said. I learned very quickly in my adventures with Bigfoot that there's definitely something more to them than just flesh and blood animal out there running around the woods. And I've said this for many years. They are anywhere and everywhere they want to be, and unlimited boundaries. Because I used to visit a particular area that I no longer visit anymore. And shortly after returning from that area, I again started, like you, having odd things happen at home. Like finding the leaf of a plant tucked underneath a potted plant on a shelf, or I would, this actually happened several times. My wife has solar lights, those little stake solar lights, little dollar things. And I would be cleaning up the dog poop in the back, and I would, work my way in there, cleaning it up. And on my way back, I'd hear something fall. And there would be a solar light on the ground. Well, this solar light was in a potted plant, and it hasn't moved in 7 months. It's been there, and all of a sudden it just flew out and landed on the ground. That's happened several times, you know. So again, they are anywhere and everywhere they want to be with unlimited boundaries.
They toy with you. I'm sure they toy with you because we think we're smarter than them.
That's right.
We do think
and
that,
they know that we're not.
We think we're the top of the food chain, don't we?
Yeah.
I think these things are so they've evolved. Some of them have evolved a lot, and I think we are made to evolve more. We're just not into that yet. If you just we got further to go. And I get into a lot of biblical references in my Quantum Bigfoot, and I'm not a religious person, but there's a lot of nuggets in there that you can use it. And if you get into how Christ did his miracles, I think he used the laws of quantum physics. He says we can do the same thing. How many of us are walking on water? How many of us can do the things that he said? Yeah, he said we can and we should, but we got to evolve ourselves. And I think we do that through our vibrational frequency. You got to get higher. You do that through, here it comes, love and compassion. Just what he taught. And I know that if you practice that with other people, I mean, just become that. Don't just practice it, but become compassionate with other people. Become caring about other people and understand what they're going through. You raise your frequency. If you start downing things and all that bad stuff that going on nowadays, you're just going to get sick more often. You're going to be lowering your own personal vibrational frequency, and you're never going to evolve. We evolve by increasing and elevating our vibrational frequency. There's a lot of ways to do that too.
Yeah, I mean, look at the Tibetan monks. I mean, you spent some time in Nepal. The Tibetan monks. That's what they do with their meditation, and that's they're changing their frequencies and stuff, and they can do some pretty amazing things. You're looking at 85-year-old monk who's sitting there lifting 300 pounds with his earlobes. Not tearing his ears off his head. You know what I mean? So
that's what I love to say right here. I love that. It's a perfect spot to put it. You find the vibrational frequency, anything, any matter, anything, you can change it.
That's right.
You got to change. You got to find the frequency of it, and you can change it. Now, Christ had some way to do that, just because he wasn't like he was a hybrid, because like we're hybrids, I think too. But the troglodytes evolved so far, and I think different species have messed with different troglodytes, making different things, Well, it goes on and on. Nothing surprises me anymore. But yeah. The monks can raise boulders and do all kinds of things. That's how I think they do it, is through the vibration.
That's crazy.
Now, you used to correct me if I'm wrong, but you've taken your daughter out a few times, right?
Yeah, Rhonda.
Yeah, Rhonda. She had some pretty interesting experiences, right?
She has, yeah. She's been my sidekick up there for a long time, and we used to go up there quite a bit. Her and I. She saw them up there. She's had 3 different encounters, visual encounters, and other things besides that happened too. The word visual, but just like a hand coming on her and stuff like that. And she had a really good sighting up there, really good sighting. And it was 2000. I forgot what year it was now, but anyway, it's in my book, and I think Sibylla drew a picture of it, and it's in my second book, Quantum Bigfoot, her sighting. She was about 7 foot tall, just at dusk. It was right when we were outside the shelter, and we both had our back to where it was. She got up to get a towel, paper towel off the nail that was on the tree, and she turned around to wipe her plate out and saw this thing sitting there looking at her.
Oh my gosh.
And she couldn't talk. She just frozen. Yeah, I was just going like that. What is it? What is it? So as soon as I got up, turned around, of course, my camera's 15 feet away on a tree, right? Of course, I didn't see it anyway. It already turned around and left. She just turned like that and walked out into the forest. So, yeah, she's had some experiences. I think this you thought was a young one. It was next morning. I went over there to check out the area because it was just dusk. It was still light, but it was it wasn't dark yet. Didn't want to mess up the site, so we didn't go over there that night. Waited till morning, then went over there and started examining, looking for whatever we could find. I stood there, and she estimated my height and where this thing was, and she estimated to be a little over 7 foot. She thought it looked like a big, tall black basketball player.
Huh.
It was sort of thin, but broad-shouldered, and yeah. So it was probably one of the younger ones that we had messing with it. We had a young one up there, had a little 9-inch track and next to an 18-inch track in the snow that we was following. And so then we've also got a young voice recorded too. And those sounds that, when in my first book, Voices in the Wilderness, people can download all the sounds. When I get to talking about the sounds, they can hear the sound that I'm talking about, gets the context of it. That comes as a download in my book that you order through Amazon. Or I have them here with the actual CD, but there's 2 different ways you can order it. And a lot of people are buying the downloads now. I think CDs are going to be a thing of the past here one of these days.
Yep.
I just sold 8 of them yesterday.
Wow.
CDs.
Right on. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I like the way you did that book. It's really it's almost it's like an interactive book. You know what I mean? Because you were able to hear the sounds audibly along with reading the description of it. So it really puts a lot of context and description and stuff into it, and then you get to hear it, and you're like, oh wow, you get a better understanding.
Well, I need to do an audiobook too. That's what I need to work on. And I keep getting encouraged to do that, but I'm lazy.
Yeah, audio book would take quite a long time. Not only you got to read the book, then you got to cue in the sound after your description. And then,
people think that'd be easy, and it's not hard, but it's just time consuming.
It's very time consuming and tedious because you
don't
want to get the wrong sound.
You want
in
to
the
read
wrong
the thing,
place.
Yeah, and you want to read the thing right, so
exactly.
It sounds like what you got to get the energy in it.
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, why don't you tell everybody where they can find your books that you have now or CDs? And
I have a website, ronmorehead.com. Strange website. It's 10 Morehead, and or Bigfoot Sounds gets you there too. .com. That's how you get to my website, where you can order the book either through Amazon or through me personally. Quantum Bigfoot is mostly sold through Amazon. I sold 13 of those the other day, and just they're really moving out good. People are hooking into this stuff. I'm so happy because it just kind of, something's got to answer this for people, because you got 8 people over here said, oh, it's just flesh and blood. Nothing's just flesh and blood. We're not just flesh and blood. We have consciousness. We have some of us have telepathy. Where does that come from? Darwin doesn't explain that in his evolutionary theory. He just doesn't. I don't disbelieve in evolution, but something has changed the genome of different entities to make them what they are. And anyway, I think we're special as humans. We've been given dominion on this planet to mess with, and we're screwing it up. I think that's a big concern of probably aliens, that we don't blow ourselves in smithereens or something with one of these bombs, because we don't mess up their planet, right?
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, there's a lot going on. I think we're going to see a lot more in the next shortly.
Yeah, I think
we're going to be inundated with UFOs. They're going to expose themselves to us. And
I think the topic of Bigfoot is definitely getting more and more widely accepted, which is good. Because, people who are out in the woods, they need to know that they're in their home and not to disrespect their home,
I think, Kevin, I think it's just people respect it. If you just respect the earth, respect everything that's in the earth, respect other people. It's all about respect and making the best out of everything, instead of trying to see down on everything. And that'll help you as a person too, if you just do that.
And it's getting more and more widely accepted. I mean, it started out as being called the woo,
Yeah.
you know,
I don't care.
which
Call me woo.
is a bygone term by now, you know, and it's becoming more and more accepted that, you know, there's more to these beings than what we think, you know.
I think the woo, the paranormal, all those terms are synonymous with quantum physics.
Exactly.
And if people just
Once
realize they can call me the woo, they call Einstein the woo, call Tesla the woo. I don't, you know, they're all, put me in the same ballpark with them. I don't care because it's quantum physics. And I'll share everything I know to anybody that wants to hear it. And
that's, you know, I have a playlist on my channel and stuff, and one of those videos is, it's not so much quantum physics, but it helps to put a visual with a description of frequency. And a person put a piece of glass on a speaker and put a bunch of sand and leveled out all that sand. And he would play a certain frequency, and that frequency would turn that sand into a pattern, a geometric pattern. And every different frequency created a different geometric pattern. Now that is incredible, you know what I mean? And that's cool to put a visual with a theory.
If you change a musical note on a piano high enough, get a high enough frequency, it turns into light.
Right.
That's pretty unique. That's a fact.
Yeah.
You know, there's no question about that. It's that way. So we live in the frequency of light. That's our three-dimensional environment that we have, and that's what we've got to work with every day. So we can't ignore classical science, but we also got to bring the other science together with it. Edgar Mitchell said, you know, Dr. Edgar Mitchell, astronaut, he said it takes classical and quantum sciences together to have clear perception. So I just encourage any researcher, anybody listening, if you really want to have clear perception, you got to bring all the science that you've got, everything at your fingertips out there, just bring it together and start looking into it. Because you don't have to believe what I say. I wish you would, but you don't have to, you know. You need to find this stuff out for yourself. And then it kind of bears a better solidness in your brain. But I get into a lot of stuff in my book, Quantum, about the pineal gland, the third eye. I think that's how you receive things. I believe in meditation and prayer. People pray for this, that, and the other, but that's asking for something. If you really want to be still and let something come into that pineal gland. It's the same attributes as an eyeball without the actual eyeball. It's right in the middle of your head. I think that's our receptor inside of us to receive information. And you fall into that when you get out of we're in the beta state of awareness right now. When you start relaxing, that's another thing that I think attracts these things. When you can relax and don't get analytical, you're going into your alpha state, and then just before you drop into the theta state, where you can have lucid dreams, you get into that, and then you drop off into the delta, where you're just going to be in deep sleep. But you find
astral projection.
Yeah, you find so much can go on in those states of awareness, and I love that stuff.
it is. I mean, and it's Bigfoot's gotten me into looking into all this stuff too, getting into the quantum physics and the frequencies and all this other stuff. And I agree with you. Once you bring all of the classic science and stuff in with the quantum science, you really start to understand a lot more.
You do.
You know, there's a lot more to this universe, this world, this planet, us, and everything on it than what we see with our own eyes.
Agreed.
You know, so
a lot more. Don't tell us what's going around all of us right now. You know,
and that is actually when Lewis started this whole podcast is Lewis's brainchild, and he got me into it and stuff. And I said, well, you know, we need a mission statement and stuff. You know, we need and our mission statement is not to discredit anything. For one, we weren't there. We didn't experience it. We just want to get the stories out. And there's going to be from one end of the spectrum to the other, and we accept everything in between. You know what I mean?
That's a good approach.
Sure.
And that's, you know, I mean, between my experiences, Lewis's experiences, and all of our guests, It's an incredible world out there.
It makes a good picture. You can start putting the dots together, and first thing you know, you got some kind of picture going on that makes,
Right.
you know, you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Right. Right.
And that's
Okay,
what-
baby's clean. There you go. Out in the pig, out in the pig pen again. We'll
Well,
do
see
it
how
again
fast an
tomorrow.
hour goes? My gosh. Was
I
there any
know.
questions coming in or anything like that?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't see anything yet. I think they're mostly just saying hi to everybody or amen. But I want to know about the orbs, and there's a thing that went across when you were being interviewed by Survivor Man, and you're talking about a sphere going across the.
That was David Paulides. Yeah, Paulides.
Yeah.
411 missing 100.
Right.
Yeah, that was happened 2016. It was just getting dark. It was dark, and but yet it's bright outside. It was starlight, and here comes this rod of light just floating by our tent, set of tents because the shelter's been taken down now. What do you think about it? What do you do with that? You don't know what it's about. You don't know what it's fixing to do. We have orbs up there following that guys around above their heads one time. This classical science don't get into that. They won't even approach it. I know scientists. I've been all over the world with them, traveling and stuff. And they won't get into quantum physics. You have to find a physicist, theoretical physicist that'll really talk to you, because they know. I've seen the head physicist of university one time, and I said, I said, what do you think about Bigfoot or something like that? He knew I was about it. He says, nothing is real until we observe it. And that's hard to get your head around, because it takes an observer because we create our own world. We create our own environment by what you're going to think about. Your brain is a way of filling in holes. You can only fill in those holes with things until you find out something else, learn something new, then you can fill the blank in. But a lot of people will see a bear or see a Bigfoot and maybe think it's a bear, and maybe it was a bear, but maybe they've seen a bear and it was a Bigfoot. Because your brain's can only do so much with what it knows, what it's been taught. Guess I will ask, have you read Neil Donald's? No, I haven't. Sorry. I got to tell you, I got a lot of books. I got Stitchen's book. I got to be honest with you, I haven't read many of them because I want to be influenced by what comes to me and work it that way instead of by somebody else. And not that I don't listen to other people, I do, and I appreciate that. But for the most part, I come up with these ideas from my theta state of sleep, I guess, loose dreams or something like that. But it just hits me, and I want to stay open like that, and I don't want something else influencing me.
Yeah.
Yeah, you base
However, if
your
that
own.
book's, tell me what that book's all about, and I might want to get it, just have it on my archive over here.
That's right. We gotta base stuff on our own life experiences. And once we have that experience, then we can all come together, and then you will start to realize, well, this person experienced the same thing, and they're on the other side of the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the correlations and stuff, it's really amazing. So we're almost at an hour now.
Oh boy,
Ron, it is
it goes. I was for 4 hours on George.
Yeah,
That's too much.
Yeah, I could sit here and talk to you all day. Yeah. I could sit here and talk your ear off all day. And
I'm scheduled with George Norrie later in September, I think, over here in Everett, Washington, and it's going to be a live event, and that's going to be fun. And then nice. I got
with George Norrie.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a great guy. He's a great guy.
I was with Art Bell a couple of times too, and I love this stuff. Yeah, and I get excited about it because I feel like I'm putting some dots together. Maybe it'll help somebody, because I'm at the age now where I just tell anybody what I think, and there you are. I got something in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, and see, next month I go to. That's in May. I go to Saginaw, Michigan. Yeah, event there. And the next month I'm supposed to go. Actually, in April I'm supposed to go to Alaska. So anyway, I'll do as much as I. How many books have you written, Ron? Oh, 2. Just 2. Thank you. 2.
Peace.
Voices of the Wilderness.
Voices in the Wilderness. And
Voices
chronicle.
in the Wilderness and the
My
Quantum
chronicle.
Bigfoot.
Yeah, that's my chronicle, how all this put together for me and what happened to us up there. The Quantum Bigfoot is a whole different type of book. It just gets into the science of how I think these things do, the different things they do, which they got a lot of strange things going on. I mean, a lot of people report these things over the years. They're not all lying. There's something going on. I'm not lying.
Right.
This stuff.
We all can't be crazy.
Well,
Right.
We all can't be crazy.
will you come back to Kenobi? Oh, who is this asking that? Lady in the Woods?
Lady in the Woods. Yeah, her name is Dee.
Well, I think I got to get them to talk to me.
I think she goes there all the time, and
I've been there twice, I think, maybe 3 times. Kenobi.
You may have talked to her. Her name is Dee. She goes by Lady in the Woods, and she's a wonderful person. So
yeah. It's fun.
Well, Ron,
Kenobi, that was fun. It's a kind of a carnival type atmosphere, but it's fun.
Yeah, they are fun. It's good to see the venue grow and grow every year, just to see the acceptance of it.
It's happening. I think it's age of enlightenment. I think that's what 2012 Mayan calendar was all about. It's the age of enlightenment. We're all getting information. We're processing it, and I don't think I'm quite sure I'm not the only one with these ideas.
No.
There's a lot of people coming out with.
Well, if I ever created a big round table meeting of the minds, you definitely got a seat there. Definitely got a seat.
That sound exactly like the sounds you record. Well, I tell you, the wild boar sounds cannot sound exactly, because what you got is a rapid chatter. You've got the one male and female stepping on each other, along with me talking sometimes. And according to the cryptolinguists who study these things, saying they have a language by the human definition of language, which is a morphine stream of words. Nothing can do that but humans, and this was not a human. So what do you do with that?
And it's like one of those auctioneers and stuff that's on too much caffeine. So,
I really appreciate you guys. Appreciate you guys having me on.
Oh, thank you.
Absolute
We couldn't believe you even came on here.
honor. Absolute
I told Kevin
honor.
to pinch me, but
I'm glad I caught up with you before get this thing straightened up here just before we went on.
Lewis texted me and stuff, said Ron Morehead agreed to come on the show, and my heart just stopped for a second. I went, start. Come on. Get going again, because I can't miss it. Not now.
I was sitting there watching you guys when you couldn't hear me or see me. What am I doing wrong?
Sorry about that.
Well, Ron, awesome time talking to you. Like I said, I could talk your ear off for hours, man.
Oh, thank you.
We know you have birthday cake to get to, and thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us tonight.
Good meeting you, Kevin. You too, Lewis. Good seeing your faces and communicating with you.
It's nice to meet
up with you again one of these days.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime.
Yeah, anytime.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. Take care.
See you later. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Well, everybody, there you have it. The wonderful, the fabulous, the infamous, the great.
That's pretty cool.
Ron Morehead, absolutely incredible.
That was pretty cool.
Well,
I hope you guys enjoyed that.
I hope so too, because I'm probably not going to come down. I'm not coming down off of this for a few days, that's for sure.
I know, me neither.
I mean,
Oscar too.
I could see Oscar's eyes going, that was insane.
It's all, dude,
that was so cool,
really?
dude. I know. He knows. He can sense your excitement, which makes him excited. So,
good night, Bama.
Good night, Bama. Thanks for being here.
And I like
Always
watching your videos. I don't care how much you move in there. I watched her video today, and I don't care how much. If you don't like my
Right.
videos, don't watch them.
You know. So yeah, I mean, like I said, I could talk to him for hours and hours and hours,
I know.
and just not get
Yeah.
tired of it. I mean,
You only said 1 hour.
like I said, if I had a round table, it would be Ken, Rachel, Tom Cantrell, Ron Morehead, and the list is going to keep growing,
Yep.
So, I mean, imagine all of those people sitting around a table talking on this subject and just putting a microphone right in the middle. The conversation would be incredible.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Mind blowing.
Yep.
So
Cool.
make sure you all go check out his books.
Yeah.
RonaldMorehead.com and Voices of the Woods and the Quantum Bigfoot. Incredible, So
Yeah.
the Sierra, I mean, he's Mr. Sierra Sounds himself.
Cool.
I mean, his vocals that he's recorded are at the top of the list. Absolutely, and they have been since the 70s. So awesome, Lewis.
Night.
Thank you
Okay.
for taking one off my bucket list.
I know, right? Oh, mine too. Check it.
Check.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll get to be able to put another check next to that. And talk to him some more. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm gonna send him some of my vocals now and see what he thinks.
Mason knows his vocals are the creme de la creme of vocal recordings. That is for sure.
Yeah.
So, and he's
sure.
proven without a shadow of a doubt that there was no hoaxing. I mean, they had a guy go in there and tear up the camp looking for stuff, and he didn't find squat.
And not even that, they even checked out the recordings, the tape, and make sure it wasn't taped over.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No, nothing. They had a crypto linguist or something from the Navy.
Yeah. Yep.
And he was the one that this is a language.
Yeah.
It's so fast the human brain can't comprehend it. But
to them it might be a slower to them, but to us it's really fast.
Again, getting into the whole quantum physics, they're vibrating and they're just going so much higher and so faster.
Yeah. Yep.
To them it seems normal. To them they could probably understand it and stuff like that word for word. But since we're at a lower frequency and vibration, our brain doesn't process it. It just sounds like gibberish. It sounds like chatter, so
because it's too quick. Yeah.
It's
great.
Awesome. So
yeah, we'll see. Can you guys in the chat think of anybody else to bring on that you would?
Give us some suggestions. Suggestions. I know it's getting harder and harder.
Yeah.
Harder and harder to top ourselves, but
yeah.
Throw it in the comments when the comments are available. Throw it in the comments for suggestions, and
put it in the comments.
We will get on it.
We'll work on it for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So.
Right.
Well,
I don't know what to say. I'm still floating.
Right. Me too. I mean, I'm thinking of this whole round table thing and how I can put it together. So, it would be absolutely, and it would be great to get all of these incredible minds on the topic together. Les Stroud. Even throw in David Paulides in there. Just for a different avenue of thought in there.
Well, they all come from different angles too,
Right.
Stroud, I'd like to get Stroud on her for sure. He comes from a different angle too.
Hey, he was in Grenada last week, so he's busy traveling around doing his thing. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's been around a lot now lately.
Yeah. So
He started a new show about Bigfoot again. He was in he was in
he
Washington.
I think it blows his mind, and he's been thinking about it lately. He's just going, well, he's thinking about it. It's something that has stuck with him. It's something that has seriously affected him, and he needs to know more.
Well, the thing is, he won't even go out by himself anymore, and that's the thing. Now, ever since he's been having found out the real stuff through through Todd.
Right.
Ever since then, he won't go out by himself. He has to have somebody with him. He took his son to one time because he didn't want to go by himself. He took someone else, his best friend, to go to Washington, and he didn't go by himself. And then that night, he really got some crazy stuff happened to him that night. And, orbs and weird things happened to him that night too.
Yeah.
So it's changed his life for sure.
Oh yeah. And it's the same with you. It's the same with me and stuff. We're just out on a normal camping trip when we have an experience or a sighting or something like that, and it draws you in. It draws you in because it just a little bit every time, and you're just nibbling away at it. You know what I mean? It's very interesting, but once you get over the fear, okay, this thing is 8 foot tall. It's 3.5, 4 feet wide. It probably weighs 1,000 pounds. Its hand is the size of my chest.
Yeah.
Once you get over the fear of it, and just come to realize, yes, they are real.
Yeah.
Well, they know that, and it's game on.
That's what it did for me, because one night when I was out there, and I knew it was them, but then I stayed the night by myself. Nothing ever happened to me. So then I kind of knew if they wanted me, that would have been done then. So,
You're right.
I kept going out by myself after that either way. And you kind of feel in the back of your mind, well, what's going to happen. But really deep inside, they're not going to bother you. They're not going to hurt you. But it is kind of creepy that they're out there all night, cruising around your tent. Even though they can't hurt you, no matter what, they can't hurt you through the tent. But once you step out, they can hurt you,
It's like the camping trip I went on with Sasquatch Omega. During the day, we found no structures. The whole area, we were just there. Look at what we found. The vibe was just, we were just there.
Yeah.
It was just, there was nothing. We went back at night, and the whole atmosphere was just, we walked down in there, and all of a sudden, both of our ears, it was like we were sitting at the bottom of a swimming pool, that sound.
Mm-hmm.
It was that. And he brought it up, and he's all, does it sound like you're like underwater? And I'm all, yeah. He's all, we didn't get that during the day. And I'm going, yeah, and I get the distinct feeling that we shouldn't be here right now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the longer we stayed, the worse that feeling got, the stronger that feeling got. And I finally had to say, Dave, we're done. Let's go. And we didn't even go out the way we came in.
Yeah.
It was almost like we were being escorted out the shortest, fastest route. I mean, we went up the steep canyon. It was shorter than what we came in, but we were being parallel. We were being escorted out because we could hear the footsteps, and we even, we even tested it. Dave was like, let's take 8 steps and stop. So we went 8 steps, we stopped, and we hear 2 more steps. And we look at each other, and he's all, it's kind of creepy when you're being stalked. I'm all, I don't think we're being stalked. I think we're being escorted out.
Yeah, telling you to leave. Yeah.
We didn't belong there at that time. And I've said this for many times. Daytime is our time, nighttime is their time. So.
Yep. Wow. Yeah.
Well, this has been an absolutely incredible show.
Yeah,
Lewis, I gotta hand it to you.
Hey, I don't know, man.
Take a bow, buddy. Take a bow because you deserve it.
Yeah, right.
You deserve it, man. That was
Yeah.
definitely a bucket lister for me. And that was, you know,
Yeah, I couldn't believe it either.
so
But that was pretty cool.
awesome. So I hope everybody in the chat and everybody watching enjoyed it also. And I hope it opens your minds
Yeah.
into let's just put it the scientific way, quantum physics, you know, because there are no rules in quantum physics, and you know it's constantly changing. And go look at that video I have on my playlist, much watched playlist, of the frequencies with the patterns, the geometric patterns. It will definitely it will definitely open your mind for sure. So
Yep.
everybody, thank you all for coming. I hope
Yeah.
you had all good night, and remember, don't blame the Bigfoot.
Yeah, don't blame him.
Don't blame the Bigfoot.
Here, Kevin. Blame us for take it.
All right, everybody. Thank you for coming, and we will see y'all next week.
Next week. See you later.